guys, how's it going, and welcome to a new stadium tour. I am outside of St James's Park. Now, I did do a stadium tour of St James's Park 3 years ago, but it was one of my first stadium tours. It wasn't one of my best videos. I am back heading in there for another stadium tour. I've done a few on the channel now, so make sure you check them out in the description. But yeah, let's get in there. Yes guys, welcome to St James's Park. Like I said, I have done a stadium tour here before on the channel, but it wasn't one of my best videos, and I've had a number of you guys asking for me to go back and do it again, so that is what we are doing today. Just being outside of the stadium, you get a sense of what a fantastic city centre stadium it is, and I could have probably given the outside of the stadium its own tour, with the likes of the Alan Shearer statue, the all-time leading goal scorer, the Jackie Milburn statue, the second highest all-time leading goal scorer, a plaque dedicated to Joe Harvey, who was a multiple trophy winner as a player and a manager, and of course the famous Bobby Robson statue, another legend of the club. It was time to head inside through the glass reception and up to level 2, where we were presented with our lanyards for the tour and given a little bit of time to explore the room before the tour got started. As we know, Newcastle hasn't been blessed with trophies in the recent years, but there was still some great pieces of history to take a look at, including the most recent championship trophy, the Fairs Cup won back in 1969, along with some matchday programmes from that game and that tournament. There is also a cabinet dedicated to Sir Bobby Robson, which included his CBE medal along with his Knight Bachelor's badge. It was time to start the tour, so we were introduced to Brian, our tour guide, before heading up to level 6, which is where you will find a number of the executive boxes in St James's Park. We were given a quick run through of some of the boxes and who they were owned by. The Newcastle United box is the only one that does not serve alcohol. This is where you will find some of the players who aren't in the matchday squad, along with friends and family. The notable name missing from the list was War Box, previously owned by Alan Shearer, which he no longer has as of a few years ago. We made our way down the corridor past a few of the executive boxes, which we will come back to, but for now we are heading up to level 7. As we were travelling up from level 6 to level 7, there wasn't too many stairs to go up, but as many home fans and away fans will know, level 7 is quite the climb. Level 7 is the home of the family section in St James's Park and is actually one of the largest family sections in British football. And now it's time to head out and get our first glimpse of the pitch. It was very strange being in St James's Park and it being so quiet compared to a match day. Currently stood in the Milburn stand in level 7. To my left we have Lisa's stand, straight ahead the East stand, and to the right we have the Gallagher. St James's Park has a capacity of just over 52,000 and is a city centre stadium, as you can see just beyond the East stand there, so it's not far to walk to go and celebrate a win or down your sorrows, depending on what happened in the game. Now, the roof in St James's Park is the largest cantilever structure in Europe, which basically means the roof is held up without actual pillars being in the ground, which means every fan in their seat gets a full view of the pitch, and if you did want to go up to the top of the roof, you can do. They hold rooftop tours, and you'll be stood 150 feet above ground up there. One thing you get a great view of from up here is how the pitch actually slopes down, as there is approximately a 1 metre drop from the Lisa's end of the pitch to the Gallagher end. St James's Park has been developed a number of times over the years, but the Gallagher end has not been further developed due to the close proximity of the road and the metro line. And as for the East stand, now you can't see it from here, but just on the other side of the East stand there are some listed buildings. Now, they were there 50 years before a football was even kicked at St James's Park, which is why that stand has also not been further developed. It's time to head back downstairs and check out one of those executive boxes we passed earlier. So before we head in, can you guess who this box belongs to? The box that we are walking into now belongs to the Newcastle United midfielder, Jonjo Shelvey. A few photos on the wall there of St James's Park past and present, along with a few photos of Jonjo Shelvey himself playing at St James's Park. Taking a step out to look at the pitch, and I think it's potentially one of the best seats in the house. I decided to take a seat to see what it was like to sit in that particular box on that halfway line, and one thing you will notice is the wall in front of you is a little bit high and does actually block your view slightly from the pitch. Now, there are booster seats available, so you can grab yourself one of them if you want to make yourself a few inches taller. As I slowly zoom into the Gallagher corner, one thing I didn't know before going on this tour is there is actually 5 jail cells within that stand, all painted pink to try and calm any people who do get put in that jail cell, and it's called the Pink Hotel because it's painted pink. We headed back inside through the box, and just to mention, we do think his box is called Cubsy because it was one of his childhood pets. Next up, we were given a quick history lesson on Newcastle United. Now, there would be a fair bit to go through, so I am just going to give you the basics. There was originally a Newcastle East End FC and a Newcastle West End FC, with Newcastle West End already playing at St James's Park. Newcastle East End took over Newcastle West End, including the lease for St James's Park, and renamed themselves Newcastle United. Shortly after, the Football League was expanded and invited Newcastle United to join, along with other teams such as Liverpool and Arsenal, who at that time were all playing in red. So again, shortly after that, Newcastle United changed their kit to the black and white stripes that we all know now. Like many teams, the club badge has changed a few times over the years, with the most recent change coming in 1988, 30 years ago, to the badge we know now. Next up, we took a look at the corporate section, which included the Sir Bobby Robson suite, the Joe Harvey suite, and all of the walls were surrounded by pictures of past Newcastle United legend players and managers, and there was one that I really liked. At Newcastle United, there's been 9 Smiths, 10 Thompsons, 12 Scotts, 13 Wilsons, but there's only 1 Shearer. They also had a number of stadium photos, which was a great way to see how the stadium has changed and developed over the years, leading us up to what is the current St James's Park. I did try and take a quick peek in the Sir Bobby Robson suite, but unfortunately the light was off, which wasn't ideal. But I did pop in there on my last stadium tour, which is what you guys are watching now. We made our way downstairs and across to the players' entrance, so this is actually where the away team bus will drop off and pick up the players before and after a game. Most Newcastle United players will drive themselves here and park up in the car park, so you're actually more likely to spot the away team here than the home team. Inside the players' entrance, there's a number of iconic figures surrounding the walls, including the Sir Bobby Robson statue, which was presented to him on his 75th birthday by Alex Ferguson and Kevin Keegan. Now, apparently, Bobby Robson was upstairs having a meal, didn't really want to come down, but they got him down and surprised him with the statue. There is also a Jackie Milburn collection, and in there are his 3 FA Cup medals kindly donated by his family. Making our way through the next door, we have the home and away dressing rooms, along with our first glimpse of the tunnel. In here we also have the doping control room, so 2 players from each team after every game at St James's Park are pulled to one side and asked to do a drug test. Now, no one has ever failed at St James's Park. And now it's time to take a look at the away dressing room, which at one point used to be the home dressing room, and as you will see, it's very bare minimum, not a lot in there at all. At one point, when this was the home changing room, it was actually bigger, but Kevin Keegan requested that it was made smaller to bring the players closer together to get a more team togetherness inside the changing room. But now, as an away dressing room, as I said, it's pretty small. If you imagine Man City turning up with all of their players, all of their staff, it's not going to be very comfortable fitting inside there. And now it is finally time to head into the home dressing room. Straight away you can see the difference between the away and the home dressing room. There's a lot more space, black and white shirts surrounding the room, along with photos of the players. Physio tables in the middle of the room, along with Newcastle United written across the wall there, and it was a really nice home dressing room. Every player gets their own section of space, a little bit of padding on the seat, but still not that much more comfortable than the away section. You know, they're about to go and play a game of football, so we don't want them getting too comfortable. An area to hang any clothing, and also another area of personal space just above, which also includes a safe. And I got myself a picture with the Rondon shirt. He's on loan, but he's banging in the goals. We made our way into the next room, where you will find the showers used by the players after the game. There is also some cycling equipment, an ice bath, and also a buffet, which I did not expect to find. The players can grab themselves some food after the game in the cool down area, and there is also a whiteboard there, so they can run through any post-match tactics while the players are getting something to eat or cooling down after the game. A final few shots of the home dressing room, and I know I'm a bit biased, I am a Newcastle fan, but it was fantastic. It was great to be in there, know what it's like as a Newcastle United player to sit in the changing rooms on a match day. And we also got the chance to make that walk that all the players will make on a match day from the home dressing room out through the corridor, bumping into the away team, and then getting ready to head out through the tunnel. But before we head out through the tunnel, we have one final stop to make as we are heading to the press room. So this is where managers and players, both past and present, can sit down and answer any questions from reporters or journalists, maybe after a game or on other occasions. As you can see, there's plenty of seats for all the journalists and reporters, with a small stage where the current Newcastle United manager or players can sit. And I thought I'd have myself a quick sit down as well. Another room to show you here, just behind the press room, known as Kath's Kitchen. Now, Kath worked at Newcastle United for 53 years, serving 26 managers and over 122,000 cups of tea. Now, Kath has unfortunately passed away, but I think it's a really nice touch of Newcastle United to name this area Kath's Kitchen. And finally, we are making our way out through St James's Park Tunnel, and it was fantastic. To make that walk like the Newcastle United players would on a match day was amazing. I know the stadium was empty for me, but stepping up those steps with the thought of what it must be like to be a player, stepping out into a packed house of cheering fans, was incredible, and I would honestly suggest it to anyone. If you take a look around the stadium, the size of the stadium, the number of seats, and think what it must be like to stand there, play a football match with every seat filled by a fan, was honestly brilliant. Normally on these tours I take myself a seat down in the away dugout, but as it was at Newcastle I had myself a seat in Rafa Benitez's managerial chair. The away dugout has 13 seats, unlucky for some, and also the away dugout is not heated, unlike the home dugout. I decided to take another quick sit down in the home dugout to see what it would be like to sit there as a player on a match day, also with a few final shots of St James's Park before we make our way out back down the tunnel. Now I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun going on the tour and a lot of fun making the video as well, so if you have enjoyed it, please remember to drop a like. As we make our way out of the stadium, I want to say a quick thank you to Brian, our tour guide, because it was a fantastic tour. They normally last around 90 minutes, but it was closer to 2 hours for us because I had so many questions and there was so much to talk about in the stadium, and I would honestly recommend it to anyone. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Right then guys, so that is it. I hope you have enjoyed the stadium tour as much as I did today. It was fantastic. I really recommend any of you guys who fancy it getting yourself along here. Tour took over 2 hours, but it was good fun. So drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Like I said, there's been plenty of stadium tours on the channel now, so make sure to check them out. But as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.